All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to headline BKFC 45, which goes down on June the 23rd, and a very intriguing bout as Luis Palomino knuckles up and toes the line against James Lilley, and great getting to talk to Luis, as always. How's your day going there, man?
Going great, man. I got one part of the day. I'm training done already, and a little recovery now, and some more training later on.
Yeah, and I'm curious about, this fight here. I imagine, or maybe I'm wrong, but I guess I imagine you wouldn't be surprised that James Lilley would be the opponent, just being that he's like the number one ranked at this juncture. Like, what were your thoughts when the initial bout kind of came your way?
No, actually, it wasn't a surprise. I was getting ready for Austin trial. I've been asking for big names for quite a while now, and the big names are literally just ducking me right now. At this point, that's the word to use. They're ducking me. They're using the excuse that they're debuting, the Chad Mendes, the Eddie Alvarez, and they can't go to a champion right away, and they use that excuse to hide behind, and they want to face me. But Aston Trout wasn't one. Aston Trout, being a two-time WBA world champion, I got to beat Cotto, fought Canelo, and I fought some big names, known worldwide. He did his debut against Diego Sanchez. He won, and I gave him the opportunity to fight for the title right away. Everything was set. I was training for him for like 2 months straight. Him being a southpaw guy, completely different type of fighter, completely different type of cat. I even agreed to fight him in his own hometown because no other big name would accept fighting me. So I even made it easy for him. I signed the contract that we're going to fight him in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Next thing you know, later on, something happened with the venue. They changed the venue to Miami, Florida, and he started getting funny, asking for more money. So that left him out of the loop, and surprisingly, they bring me Lilley. Now, I think Lilley deserves to have a shot. Don't get me wrong. He's 7-0, he's 4-0 organization. He's very over champion in England. So I think that, he's more than happy to serve me a shot. But I'm in this position where I'm trying to get like the bigger names because, to be very honest, who knows Lilley? Nobody knows Lilley. Nobody knows who he is. I'm not shutting down the job that he's done. But who has he faced? He hasn't faced anybody that nowhere near, the people that I faced. You know what I mean? And his name doesn't ring nowhere near the names that I want to fight. So to answer the question, it was surprising for the simple fact that I was going to fight somebody else. Then I had to change my entire camp from a southpaw opponent to a right-handed person. And but deserving-wise, he deserves a time shot. 7-0 in this industry is very hard to accomplish.
Yeah, and that is curious because I did hear a chat you had with John Morgan where you didn't specifically say who it was, but based on the description, I'm like, I think he's talking about Austin Trout here. And I'm curious about this too because I would have imagined that fight would be at 165. Does it change the camp a fair bit, being that you're now readying to fight at 155 as compared to what you probably initially thought you were readying for?
Well, to be honest with you, I asked for the fight against Trout to be at 165 because he debuted at 165 and I hadn't had a chance to defend the title. But the contract was signed at 155, so that didn't make much of a change as far as the weight. It was just the fact that it's a completely different type of fighter. Trout is an elite level boxer, southpaw, and Lilley is a right-handed, MMA/boxer/brawler fighter. He can box, don't get me wrong. He has some good boxing in him, but not the pedigree that Trout has, and the right-handed stance is it's easier for me, if anything.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting because that has been sort of a thread, trying to get these, bigger name fights. And like you said, very aware of Lilley and very much no disrespect to him. But it seems like you've had past accounts with guys like Chad Mendes or Eddie Alvarez and those fights not necessarily panning out. What do you think that is? Is it just they're not one to, step in against, the pound for pound number one? What's going on there, man?
Look, I'm a very respectful person. I have the utmost respect for people like Chad Mendes, Eddie Alvarez, the Mike Perry's, but you can't sugarcoat the shit, man. There's Eddie Alvarez were looking for gold and wanted to see in Japan. You know what I mean? Now you come to bare knuckle, Chad Mendes, I called him off for an entire year, and he was quieted out. Comes back to fight Eddie Alvarez, and then he retires. So he only did 2 fights and he's done, right? Eddie Alvarez is writing to me, because I write to him respectfully, right? But Eddie Alvarez, I was calling him out, and he wrote to me, directly. He's like, "You and I would never fight for money." I'm like, what you mean, man? So I don't understand that. I mean, the only way that I can put it is, if you're chasing for gold in the biggest organization in the world, the UFC, you've been a champion in Bellator, the second biggest organization in the world, right? You weren't looking for gold in Japan, but you don't want the gold that's being offered to you in bare knuckle fighting. I mean, it's that you don't believe that you can win. It's that you don't believe that you can retain a title like that. You know what I mean? So what are you telling me? So from what I'm seeing is this guy's like Chad Mendes, like the Eddie Alvarez. They're coming to an organization trying to collect a big payday. Which, hey man, you deserve it. You've created a character for yourself that's known worldwide. You've created this persona. You've been champion in some occasions, and it's great. You deserve that. It's kind of like where I'm at right now, where I feel like I deserve the big checks. And if this guy's coming over here, collecting big checks, then put me against this guy. Let us earn that money. You know what I mean? I've called out, everybody. Daniel Alves, Mike Perry, Chad Mendes, Eddie Alvarez, and the ones that have entered and are in the organization or were, do not want to face me. So what's the reason behind it? If ducking is not the word, then what is the reason? You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, and that has seemed to become part of the discourse more so in BKFC now. Like, it's almost kind of in my line of questioning with certain guys, too. Like, it's like, are you looking for, like, a title path? Are you looking to just kind of make the big bucks? And a lot of guys are pretty open, like, hey, I'm just kind of looking to make some big money here. So it is interesting, but just kind of in the, legacy conversation, I mean, you're very much carving out that great path. I mean, last time out being, that first fighter to successfully defend a BKFC world title 5 times. Like, it seems like you're embarking on a path where it's going to be, very difficult for any next guy to kind of meet you in terms of consecutive title defenses. Like, how much pride does stuff like that kind of impart to you? I would think it would be important, at least.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm in this position right now. It's a funny position to be in. Nobody in BKFC history or bare knuckle history that I've ever heard of in all the other organizations out there has defended their title more than 3 times. I've defended it 5 times, going on my 6th defense. There is no 2-way division undefeated, champion right now. I'm the one, So it's like, having all these accomplishments, like being a victim of your own success, in other words. You know what I mean? It's like, I have no problem if I have to, relinquish the belt to be able to get fights against guys that are stepping into the organization, hiding behind the fact that they can't go straight to a title shot. And that's what's happening right now. You know what I mean? And these guys are hiding behind the reason that they can't go to a straight title shot because they just got here. They want to get their feet wet. That's what they all say. I want to get my feet wet and get a 2 New York fight. And they get that and they still don't. You just look past like they don't see me. You know what I mean? So it's a little frustrating, to be honest with you. I think it's gonna come down to I feel bad even for Nathan Shook, the matchmaker, and Dave Feldman, because I know that they try to put some of this fights together, and they're making their job hard because they want to come over here and collect a big check, but they don't want to work for it. They don't want to face a pound for pound. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. We're gonna have to just take it one fight at a time. We got Nitty next, 2 weeks out. It's nothing to be taken lightly. You know what I mean? He's 7-0, something very hard to accomplish in this game. I mean, this game is brutal. You don't necessarily have to be the best to win, man. Sometimes you can lose to somebody that's, unbelievably not better than you because you got hit and you got cut with a cut big enough to get stopped. You know what I mean? Or you got hit and you got knocked out. It happens. There's no gloves in this game. So at this time right now, man, just handle business on June 23rd. And
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and based on your breakdown, you've always struck me like this with previous opponents, but just like your, I guess, thorough understanding of what they bring to the table, just him being a former BKB champion and has the 7-0 record across 2 promotions, hasn't tasted that defeat quite yet, and everything like that. But in terms of like I guess the X's and O's of what he does in the ring, like I've heard in some interviews, you've kind of credited the chin and things like that he brings, but like stylistically, like what do you think he really does well out there?
Hey, look, Lilley does well off the lead hand. He's got a very good jab, a very good accuracy with his jab. He'll double, triple his jab on his way in. He'll throw a good right hand. He'll work the body a little. And this is all basic boxing. Things that I've seen all my life. But he does it well. He plays a good distance. Those are his pros. The pros is that he'll throw a lot of combinations. He'll throw, instead of throwing 1s to 1-2s, he'll throw 3 5s. I thrive on that. That's great for me too. He throws 3 4 5, 4 5 6 amount of punches when he strikes. He'll lead in with his jab, double jab, or even a triple jab. But just like he has those pros, and the other pro would be, his chin. He can take a hit. Arguably, he can take a hit. From the people we've seen hit him, the biggest hitter that we've seen him face is Bobby Taylor, and Bobby Taylor pushes his punches. So there's a big difference in between a snap in the punch, and a push, because you're strong and you're pushing through the punches. You know what I mean? Bobby Taylor is one of those pushing punch guys. You know what I mean? Like very muscular person, pushes with his weight. There's more danger in the snapping punch. That pull back of the punch and access that. And that becomes even more dangerous when you're the faster man. I'm the faster man. I am definitely faster than you. The other thing is you'll have those pros, but the cons are the fact that his defense has balls all over. He gets hit a lot. He drops his hands a lot when he's throwing a lot of punches. So if he hasn't adjusted that, and even if he has done some adjustments, once that cardio starts going down, those mistakes will come back out. And I'm going to capitalize on those. You know what I mean? So he has the pros, but I think he has more cons than pros.
Yeah, it seems like from what you're saying, like the difference that you bring to the table as compared to some previous opponents is like your ability to kind of like maintain that strong base. Like you talk about the differences between like thoughtfully like pushing out your punches or flicking out the punches as opposed to like that, physical, follow through and stuff like that. So it seems like the, I guess, maintenance of that base and just the, footwork and stuff like that is probably some of the biggest differences between what you bring to the table versus maybe what some previous opponents have done.
Yes, 1,000%, man. It's going to be hard for him to find people or for him to have found people that will spar with him that are anything near like what I do. There's nobody, and I mean nobody that signs to BKFC has the footwork that I have. Nobody. Nobody has demonstrated the footwork that I have, the defense, the ability not to get caught, not to get cut. The power and speed that I possess is like that. The whole thing as a group, you might find some people that have some power. Yes, they have the Lorenzo Hunts with the power. Yes, fast, speed. Yes, but it's very hard to find all of this in one. Like as for Lilley, right? Lilley has some very nice combinations. He throws some nice combos. Got pretty good speed in his hands. Combinates very well, and he can take a hit. But he's wide open to receive hits. He doesn't move his legs. Yeah, it's going to be very hard to find somebody to imitate me and be ready for what I'm going to bring. Something else.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of different reasons as to why you've held that title for well over 1,000 days now, I guess.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say, what was it like kind of seeing that pop up on social media? Because, obviously you've been champion for years at this juncture now, but that specific number, like, did that kind of impart a certain feeling, or was it just kind of like, oh, yeah, that sort of makes sense?
Yeah, it was cool, actually. I never thought about it in like 1,100-something days, I think it was. Yeah, 3 years and a half holding the title. Man, maybe,
Yeah, and I don't know how much this reference will mean to you, if anything at all, but I saw a couple people commenting on that post saying it was kind of similar to like Roman Reigns, because there's like a WWE character who like his big thing is like, oh, I've held the title for over 1,000 days now, and I'm like, yeah, Luis is out here doing it for real.
Yeah, I was seeing. I was wondering who the hell was Roman Reigns. I was reading some of his comments. I'm like, who the hell is Roman Reigns?
No, that's funny though, man. I definitely, can appreciate all of that for sure. But yeah, I mean, very intriguing fight in a lot of different regards. Like the last time we were talking, though, it seemed like you were talking about like with the Tom Show fight, how you were looking to kind of, make a highlight out of it. Is there a certain, I guess, particular outcome you're looking for in this one, or a particular statement you're looking to convey with this fight?
Oh man, we took Show down 3 times, man. That dude is tough. He wouldn't just get up, but he'll get up with a smile on his face. You know that you're meant for bare knuckle boxing when you're like getting bucked on your ass and you're getting up with a smile on your face, man. It's like, what the fuck? But back to that, man. Lilley, we have to turn off the lights on Lights on Lilley, man. There's only one lights out, that's Chris Lights on Lighting. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's gonna be retaining that name because we're gonna turn off the lights on Lilley. 1,000%. We have to. We have to make it memorable. We have to make it, so that everybody remembers, hey, I'm the pound for pound. I'm dangerous in any shape, form that you can. You know what I mean? I choose to box in fights. I choose to go more rounds in fights and to give the fans, the future, a glance at the future of bare knuckle boxing, because we have a lot of fans out there, where it's like you have the true loving fans, like the instinct, right? The kid, the instinct, the Royce Hunt fights fans. They wanted to see blood knockouts, which is great, and I want it for that. But then you have the fans that appreciate the boxing, the scale, you know what I mean? And bare knuckle boxing, man, I'm telling you, bare knuckle boxing is going to be, I still do believe it'll be even bigger than UFC for the simple reason that it's simpler and easier to understand for the masses. There's no grappling here, no kicking, it's a clean punch, cut, go to sleep. But when you put the science behind it, right? They say that boxing is thinking man's sport, right? So when you put the science behind the bare knuckle boxing, when you put some brains in there and not just go for your primal instincts, but you can mix both, it turns into a beautiful thing to watch, man. You have to be a lot more, you have to calculate things better, you have to take better risks, to be able to keep it exciting. I mean, you don't have to try to keep it exciting. It's always going to be exciting. It's 22 rounds, and there's no gloves. But to keep it like, that next level, where you're actually thinking in there and you're not just brawling, it's, man, I think that's, I'm showing what the future of bare knuckle is. There's not many of them. I think I've seen one. I've seen, what's his name? The Marine's looking great. He looks like a bare knuckle boxer, But there's a few of us, I don't want to start naming things and leaving people out. But there's a few of us, but very little, that are coming out that there's a science mixed with that animal instinct. And that's going to be the beauty of the growth of bare knuckle, moving in the future.
Yeah, and very well articulated. I was kind of in a similar position where I didn't want to necessarily start naming people off because you don't want to leave anyone out. But I feel like you very much have at very least played a part in kind of creating that, I guess, dialogue around fight IQ in this sport and stuff like that. And I feel like that really, I guess, serves that growth that you're talking about, like talking about how much more it can still serve to grow. So I feel like that understanding of the fight IQ is a key part in all of that. I would think that would be something you also take a level of pride in as you continue to make these great moments.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you love to see it for sure. And I mean, we were talking just a bit ago about how, the last fight or relative, like the last opponent, I guess, that you were trying to get was supposed to be more so at welterweight. Like, is the next one going to be, at welterweight? Because there's been some discourse about like what's happening with the welterweight title and stuff like that, and I'm kind of curious because obviously love to see you compete regardless of the weight category, but do you think the next one is going to be you defending that welterweight title, or is it just a matter of whatever like potential offer might come your way? Because I feel like you've cleaned out lightweight mostly.
Yeah, I've been asking for the welterweight defense for a while, but I'll tell you the truth, man. I'll be very honest with you. As far as defending 165, if there's not a name like Eddie Alvarez, let's say if they were to sign somebody like Anthony Perez, somebody that's grown up, like Oscar Trout. If there's not a name like that, I really don't care about it. I mean, at this point, I'm going to prove once again that I'm the pound for pound and that I deserve a little investment. I deserve that we get the people that are actually going to face me, and we can fight on whatever weight class they want. I'm open for super fights. I've called down Mike Purdy a couple times at 170 for a super fight, because I couldn't get anybody in my weight class to fight. I mean, I only moved up to 165 to look for more money, to look for bigger names. I called out the House, and that fight didn't happen. It was being talked about. And then here comes, Mike Perry's manager, which is also Devil House manager, bumped me out of the conversation, put two of his own guys to fight each other. My fight really monster at Devil House. So it's like I'm willing even to go higher, even though I'm not a big person, you know what I mean? Just to look for a big check with a big name next to it, right? But more than the titles at this point, after I defend this one, good luck defending a title more than 6 times in a row. You know what I mean? I will keep defending 55. I'm not greedy. The only reason why I moved up was for that reason, to make more money and to get a bigger name. But if a big name doesn't come, I will not take the risk. Because it's a risk. Every fighting bare knuckles is a risk. There's no gloves here, man. I mean, I'm not Superman. I'm just doing my job the right way. I'm doing my job well done. You know what I mean? But I'm not Superman, and I'm very realistic with myself. I'm a small 155 to begin with. So I'm a real small 165. But if a name like Austin Trout, Eddie Alvarez, Anthony Perez, they were to sign or something like that, then that pops up, hey, let's do it. Other than that, really careless. To be very honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's very fair. Definitely underscores how impressive it was that you even won that 165 title in the first place. I'm just hoping we get you some sort of big name opponent and get BKFC Peru set up.
Yeah, we're ready to go, man. We're ready. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be huge. I'd have to figure out how to get some travel arrangement over there. I feel like that could be a really fun event to cover. But yeah, we're talking about this event now, BKFC 45, a great show and another great fight in what's been quite the, prolific lightweight championship run you've had. But I want to be considerate of your time and schedule, as I was kind of saying before. I'm sure there's a ton of questions I could ask you, but want to be mindful of your schedule, Luis. So is there maybe like a final parting thought you'd want to add as we're wrapping up, man?
Oh, man, just to wrap it up, always looking for sponsors, man. If you want to support the biggest, the best, number one and only pound for pound of the entire organization, Luis Palomino. Contact him on social media at Luis Baboon on Instagram. You can talk to me directly. Maybe I can pass it with my manager, but I'm definitely looking for more sponsors, man. Other than that, thank you to all the ones that are supporting me. Thank you for having me. And do not miss June 23rd. It's going to be a nasty show putting the lights out by James Lilley.
Yeah, it's going to be a great fight, and very much excited for BKFC 45 on June the 23rd there. And I was excited for this James Lilley fight before talking to you, but definitely compounded more after getting some insights from you, man. So thanks for that, and just, like I said, looking forward to peeping the fight when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day there, Louise.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BKFC 45, and in the headliner no less, which transpires on June the 23rd. It's a very intriguing fight with the BKFC lightweight championship on the line as Luis Palomino defends that crown. And is readying to knuckle up and toe the line against number one contender James Lilley. And great having James on the show today. How's your day going there, man?
Very hot at the moment. Super hot. We're not used to this type of weather in the UK. So I got to get the fans out for the family. But otherwise, all good. Had some media stuff to do today, but yeah, it's all going good. Hope you're well.
Yeah, no, definitely doing well. I mean, I'm doing what I enjoy, getting to talk to, top quality fighters and everything like that. And I guess to that point, with you being ranked number one in the division, like I was saying from the top, I imagine maybe it wasn't that much of a surprise that this was your next fight, but what was the, I guess, initial onset feelings when this bout offer first came your way?
Oh, it was a yes straight away. There was no hesitation. When we got the text message, I kind of had a feeling that the fight was going to happen a couple of weeks earlier because he was meant to be fighting Austin Trout, and that fight fell through for whatever reason. So I kind of had an inkling, so I started picking up my training. But yes, it's a dream come true. I've said on like a few interviews I've done this week, I couldn't have asked for a better fight. It's not just that he's a champion of my division. He's the champion of the division above. He's the number one pound for pound in the world. And I want to fight the best guys possible. So that, it's all come together. I'm super happy, super stoked for it, really excited.
Yeah, and what I love about this is it seems like the culmination of, 20 plus years in general. Like you were talking about that in a recent social media post, just how you've been chasing really like a combat sports dream overall, and I mean demonstrably effective in bare knuckle and everything like that, just readying for your 10th fight. And it seems like you're kind of taken aback almost by guys like Chris Lytle saying that you're right up there with the most complete fighters in BKFC. So can you talk about just how satisfying this journey has been, just like how many years have been put into it, like I said, and what it's culminated into now, fighting the number one pound for pound in BKFC?
Yeah, it's really hard to describe, the last sort of 14, 15 months since I've been with BKFC. My career has just gone to another level. Like you said, I remember watching Chris Lytle in UFC when, I first got into it, and, he was legendary. It's really, like I said, I've said before, if I finish my career now, I'd be really satisfied with what I've done, and BKFC have just taken me onto this whole other sort of plane where the ceiling just, I don't know where the ceiling is at the moment. It just seems to be and I just can't wait to see where it goes. I know I'm super happy. They asked me on the BKFC podcast earlier if I'd like to rant about anything, and I said I'm so happy at the moment. I'm living the dream. There's nothing that's bothering me at the moment. It's the life I've always wanted to live.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, so much leading into this. I mean, you obviously have been a champion previously in the sport, garnering that BKB championship when you finished Scott McHugh. But like, what would winning a title within BKFC mean to the overall legacy? It would seemingly bolster the resume in a big way, obviously. But fighting somebody like we've been saying, number one pound for pound. So I mean, like, how much does a BKFC title hold importance to you? Like, with the context of you previously being that BKB champion.
For me, the goal was that I didn't set out to become like world champion or BKFC champion. My goal was to get over stateside and fight in America, and I kind of take everything as a bonus. But as the ceiling got higher, as I sort of got into the rankings and then beat this guy and beat that guy, I kind of got it in my sights that that's something that I wanted. When I first started out doing sort of bare knuckle and came over to BKFC, I never was like, right, I want to be world champion. I was just like, right, let's just see where this journey takes me. And it's only when, I've had like this consistency, I've had this good support team around me that we're like, right, well, where can we go with this? And Luis Palomino was always going to be that guy. I'll be honest. If he'd vacated or I was fighting someone else for an interim title, I'd kind of be a little bit more disappointed because he's got this, the pound for pound status. He's a 2-weight champion, so the belt is really icing on the cake. Actually getting to fight who many consider the best bare knuckle fighter on the planet is more of the achievement, and I'm just happy that it can come with a title.
Yeah, and that focus seems to have been like a linear kind of thread through like a few interviews I've seen of yours. Like you're obviously giving credence to each opponent in these different, increments in your career, but at the same time it would seem like Palomino was always the guy you were kind of like looking towards from some of the interviews I'm seeing.
Yeah, if like for example, Alan Belcher was the number 1 pound for pound, then I wouldn't go for that as much because he's a much heavier fighter than me. But because it just so happens that the champion of my division is also considered the number 1 pound for pound in the whole organisation, then that's the fight I want. I want to show the world what I'm all about, and I love fighting. If I was at the bottom of the pile, I'd still fight for as long as my body let me. But it just so happens that if you're good at something and you're consistent, you get up the rankings and you get more plaudit. So they kind of go hand in hand. And yeah, it said I'm just loving the fact that the best guy in the organisation I'm fighting next week.
And it seems that you're getting in some great work ahead of this one. Obviously, someone like Dex Spellman is going to be able to impart a lot to you, I would think. But I was noticing you were working with Rico Franco as well. And I mean, on a skill set level, definitely makes sense. But also just the fact that both of you are preparing for different main event fights coming up. So can you speak to, how important that work has been in this recent camp, especially?
Yeah, I've known Rico for a long time, since we were both on the same UK circuit, and he helped me out with sparring for Bobby Taylor. I was up in Leeds, and I also want to say a big shout out to Andy Bakewell for if I ever need sparring because I work away from home, he's always on the phone to find me a gym to go to. And, me and Rico kept in contact, over the years, and he came down to help me out with sparring, and Rico's another very experienced fighter, where he's had to change probably the way he fought in MMA and boxing to suit bare knuckle. And it's really hard getting experienced bare knuckle fighters around you because they spar different to MMA guys, to boxing guys. There's a different type of sparring. So it's been sort of invaluable having him down, and it's been a great camp for sparring, to be fair.
And that kind of brings up an interesting question to me because, like, certain times I've noticed with, like, people preparing for the bare knuckle fights, like, the sparring can sometimes consist of fighting with, like, the bigger, like, Queensbury rules kind of gloves. But I've also talked to some bare knuckle fighters who will use, like, the 4-ounce MMA gloves to kind of replicate the range more so. Like, what are you kind of utilizing in that regard?
Most of my sparring, we use the 60-ounce big gloves. You've got protective tools. But I'm also part of an MMA gym, KGB, and I do quite a lot of sparring work with the amateur MMA gloves, the 6 ounces on, just because of the clinch work. And we've had some really good rounds up there with some ex-UFC guys and stuff. So yeah, I do a mix. Most of it's with big gloves on, a lot of it, and then we mix in the 6 ounce gloves for when we're trying to simulate the clinch work.
And is the work more oriented to, like, your sparring partners kind of doing what they do best and bringing that to the table, or is it more about curating the camp whereby your fighters that you're getting in that work with are replicating certain stylistic attributes that Palomino has?
To be honest, it's hard to find people to sort of replicate Lewis's style. I think he's got a very unique style where he fights in sort of phases where he's like on you and then he backs off and he counters, and so it's really hard to replicate that style. So I've had a variety of opponents. I've had guys who are experienced MMA fighters, experienced professional boxers, experienced bare knuckle fighters. So I just have a variety of different fighters, and that's the best I can compare. So it's more about me getting sharp and changing, especially if you've got like 3 or 4 different boys there, and one of them's a brawler, one of them's a boxer, one of them likes to grab you. It's nice to have that. So you've got multiple game plans depending on how the fight goes, because it's really hard to get someone. Bobby Taylor's a perfect example, actually. We thought he was going to rush me and come on me straight away, and as soon as the buzzer sounded, he took a step back and went on the back foot. So you can never predict what another man's going to do. They've got certain styles and certain niches, but it's hard to actually predict what they're going to do in the night.
Yeah, I get what you're saying in that kind of sense, and you talk about like the unique aspects of Palomino's style, and as far as like it's hard to maybe find people to replicate that. Like specifically, like what does he bring to the table that makes his style so unique from what you've been able to tell? Like what are some of his better attributes?
I think he's very good at managing the distance and the pace. I think a lot of the guys he's fought have fallen into his little traps. Like he likes you come forward, then go on the back foot, and he draws people in. I've seen it against Martin Trey Brown and Tom Schoaf. Tom Schoaf didn't utilize his height and reach advantage over. You let him come on him straight away. And I think he's going to be hard to work out in that sense. If he comes straight at me, great. If he goes on the back foot, great. We'll box him. We've got a few tricks up our sleeves for him as well. It's a very hard fight to think how it's going to go, and I'm looking forward to the challenge.
And something I like about your, I guess, arc in BKFC, it seems like you're very cerebral as much as you're about the physical application of the technique. Like after the Bobby Taylor fight, scoring a TKO over the then number 3 ranked guy in the division, I think most people would be pretty happy about that. But I saw a quote where you were saying like, I was like slightly above average, like a 6 out of 10. Like I felt like I got in my own head about it. So how important is, I guess, that, analytical component, like trying to assess the, I guess, mental end of things as you continue to improve the physical elements?
Yeah, I think, most people can get themselves in a great shape, get themselves fit, and, with pad work spa, you can get yourself to pretty much the same peak. But I think with this style of fighting, it's sort of a think your man's game, and like you said, I got in my own head a little bit, and I listened to like people talking about Bobby all week, how tough he was and how hard he hit. So I kind of think I had a point to prove, and that's why I wasn't happy with my performance. I was holding my feet a little bit too much, going after him a bit too much, and I'm my own worst critic as well. My cornermen and my coaches have got to sometimes tell me not to be so hard on myself, because I come out of sparring and I'll think I've done rubbish or terrible, and they're like, no, you done well. And if I see a take back, done that badly, but I pick up and just punch Bobby's lip off his face, rather than that, I'm picking up one that he caught me at the end of the third,
I get what you're saying. I like how you called it a thinking man's game, though, and I feel like there's definitely a group of fighters that have really, I guess, elevated the discourse around the fight IQ that's ever growing in bare knuckle. That's partly why I think this fight is so compelling. Like, obviously, you guys have great physical tools, but I feel like both of you guys have the, I guess, experience, but also coupled with, like, that strong, fight IQ and whatnot. So, this fight definitely looks like one of the better kind of, like, chess matches that could be made out there in the sport now.
Yeah, it's the thing with bare knuckle that not many people understand is you can't simulate a fight. You can't have no gloves on and beat up in your sparring partner because you're going to get cuts and stuff. So I think experience is so important at bare knuckle that every time you take a fight, you add into your experience. So when you get people who are over 5 or 6 fights, I'd always give them more of a chance against even big ex-boxers or big ex-UFC stars, because I think the experience with bare knuckle, when you're working out where to put your hand to block and stuff, so important. And I think that's why this fight is, like you said, so intriguing, because we've had similar amount of fights. We both know our way around it. I've had the experience now of going over to America twice to fight, different time zones, cutting weight over there. So it's all added to the game plans I've got, and I'm not ready for any surprises. We had a hostile crowd in New Orleans. I got 5 rounds in the ring with Tyler. Done America twice with the time zone difference. So yeah, I think I've put myself in a good position to be the best in the world.
And definitely a couple more questions I have related to that fight, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I, didn't touch on some of the, hometown love you're getting here from what I can tell. Like, I saw the spray painted image of you in Swansea and stuff like that, and it seems like you're getting in some different like poetry readings and stuff like that. Like, I think that's a cool part of what you're doing as well. Like, it seems like you've had like hundreds of different works published and stuff like that. So I guess it's a bit of a two-part kind of question. Like, I'm curious about how the, hometown support has been feeling, especially like some of the early days that you had previously talked about on social media, just like how you were struggling to sell tickets to your like earlier fights and stuff like that. But yeah, can you also just talk about like some of the poetry end of things, because I find that interesting?
Yeah, it's that spray painting really took me back. Like in the UK, you see like stuff like that for like football players and local heroes, and just for someone to go down and do that off their own back, I didn't expect it. I've been getting a lot of love, a lot of backing from local businesses, local things, and yeah, it's incredible. I just want to do my city proud. It's nice being known all over the world, and having like an American fan base and stuff, but nothing beats having the people of your city behind you, and everyone's so supportive. It's been great, and I just want to make sure that I can do the best job I can do and put Swansea firmly on the Benetton map.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess just one of the last questions I hear, just like I said before, trying to be mindful of your time and everything. But when I was talking to Luis the other day, he was very much crediting your experience and your past with BKB as a title holder, as I'd kind of mentioned. And he said your chin was very strong and everything, but it seemed like he was like looking at this fight where I guess his bigger attributes were his boxing ability, speed, etc. And then he kind of like did a bit of name play with your nickname, saying he was going to turn the lights out on Lights Out. How do you see this fight going? Like, do you have a certain, predominant visualization of how, the story of this one unfurls, I guess?
Yeah, I think, I've got great respect for Louise. He's been a great champion, but all reigns have to come to an end. I think, boldly, I'm going to predict that I'm going to knock him out in the 5th round. I think I'm going to work him out early, and then I'm going to shock the world as he tires. I'm going to get him out of there, and I'm going to be the first Welshman to hold a BKFC belt. And then I'll look forward to, as an honourable man, giving the champ a rematch in my hometown.
Yeah, sounds like a great plan if that were to fall into the ideal outcome there for you, and very much was excited for this fight before talking to you, but definitely increasing that much more after getting some great insights from you, man. But like I keep saying, I want to be considerate of your time and schedule, so is there maybe any final parting thought you'd want to add as we're wrapping up here, man?
Obviously, thank you for coming and letting me come on. I just want to give a big shout out to everyone in Swansea and the wider world who are supporting me. I'm up against Louise. We know how good of a champion he is. I think I'm in his most difficult fight to date. And I said I can't wait to get out there. I'm excited, and I hope you guys can all tune in.
Yeah, and I think that excitement definitely shared by the people that avidly follow Bare Knuckle, and very much excited for BKFC 45. Definitely counting down the days until June 23rd there when you and Luis Palomino get out there. But again, thanks for the time and great insights, man. And until then, you have a good rest of your day there, James.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for having me on.